doing Armored Core 2, Hard Mode Starter AC this time around, with the additional stipulation of a single use of limit release for the entire game. Starter AC in this case means that the stats on the machine you are given at the start of the game are all I can use. There's going to be no optional parts, no human plus. What you see on the screen there is all I'm going to get, and it's not particularly great. In terms of weapons, the rifle is surprisingly solid for what it is. The better options only do about a third more damage per shot. The blade is incredibly serviceable, and tracking is really good in this game. Like, it's so good, sometimes I don't even know how to use it. Additionally, the missiles are going to be your best friends, since they lock on twice in 2nd gen, and they do a grip of damage. Gotta say, this might be my favorite menu in the series, even if it's not exactly the most functional. The theme is great, and there's these cool animations for every menu. I adore the UI's aesthetics. It's just so slick for me. But enough about that. Without further ado, MT Suppression. I'm going to be skipping the tutorial level. I don't much care for it, and it's mandatory starter AC anyways. The level here has just these ball MTs. They're quite similar to the ones at the end of Armored Core 3. They take 5 shots in your rifle, 1 blade slash, or 2 missiles. There's a couple spots you can stand in that cause friendly fire if you want to be fast about it. Pretty decent level. It introduces more verticality and lets the player fully acclimate to the controls. Just be careful with their shotgun blasts. It doesn't look like it, but they can chunk you if it full connects. Think of it as a bit of a prelude for what's later on in the game. Some general notes about starter AC in this game: you're going to be slow. You can't turn worth a damn, your FCS is going to take an age to lock onto things, your defense is paper thin, basically everything's going to stagger you on hits, and your energy regen speed is absolute dog water. That said, AC2 is the first game in the series to introduce overboosting. Because it's that first implementation, it's overpowered as all hell. There's exactly 0 heat generation for popping it, and the general cost is really low, even with the starting generator. Momentum in general in this game can let you swing around on a dime pretty much, so you're not totally helpless when it comes to defensive options. Just mostly defenseless. You additionally get limit release in 2nd gen. It's a mechanic that never made its way past another age, in that by pressing a button combination, being your look up and down keys plus overboost, you pretty much overclock your generator and get 60 seconds of infinite energy with the starting core. The downside is that afterwards the generator goes kaput for a minute, before starting to recharge from pure empty. This is your ultimate trump card to pull in a pinch. It doesn't sound like much, but a lot can happen in only a minute. If you're not me and being a stubborn bastard about it, lean into it whenever you need the mobility boost. And if you played this game before, you can hazard a guess where I decided to burn my one use of it. AC2 marks the first game on the PS2 for this series, and it was a launch title for the console, funnily enough. It came out at the turn of the millennium, making it a quarter of a century old now. Isn't that nutty to think about? It was my first Armored Core game as a kid. My household never got those PS1 titles. If I'm not mistaken, I think my parents got it around mid-02 or so after the system dropped in price. Or maybe it was a deal my father did under the table with a friend of his. That man always was shady like that. Either way, I got a hold of the game at a really young age. And let me tell you, this game was a total struggle. I think the farthest I ever got with it was maybe the 3rd or 4th mission. Just couldn't get on with the game. And this is the reason why I'm doing Starter AC. You don't get ranks in this game, and I really wanted to do something cool with it. I'm just going to preview the screen you get every time you complete a mission. It is so cool, that menu. On this note, I really admire the cutscenes in this game. I'm not going to display them in full, you can't skip them unfortunately, but I will abridge them, just so you can get the experience. You can tell that the tools that they were using for the free cam just weren't quite as advanced as they are today. So the camera angles are after my own heart, really. Eliminate Informer just has you going in to destroy a bus. You don't have to engage anything here except the target, but I'll blow up a few of the MTs to make it a bit more interesting. They can and will friendly fire each other if you let them line up, and it seems letting them come over to the south side of the tower positions them in a way that keeps you from being ping-ponged between them. I didn't even really like this series until a few years later when I saw a copy of Silent Line during a shopping trip at I think it was Circuit City. That cover looked so dang cool. I guess by then I was a little bit more mature and I could handle the controls of that game, since that's the one I really fell in love with. After that, I never got an AC title until AC4 in like 08 and For Answer a few years later. Adored those 4th gen games back then. Now, not so much, but that's neither here nor there. Destroying the bus does end the mission. I wasn't kidding when I said you don't have to engage anything here, and there's quite a few levels in this game like that. Pretty neat, all considered. Outside of like 1 or 2 missions, most of them are pretty well paced, and I do like the majority of them. Regarding Defend the Bridge, gonna be your first taste of getting chain staggered if you're doing starter AC. If it looks annoying to get hit by, that's because it is. Just put 2 missiles into each of the flyers, use your rifle to clean up when needed. Looking at it here, I didn't like the dog ears on the head, but I'm starting to grow a little fond of them now. I do wish there was an answer to this outside of being in the air when it happens, but getting bullied like this is just going to be your life now going forward on some of these missions. The plus side here at least is that it doesn't do that much damage. But you can see some of From's ambition with the presentation. The step up from the graphical fidelity on the PS1 is just bonkers to contemplate. 14 to 25 FPS to a solid 60 in actual geometry instead of flat boxes for rooms. I wish I could get on with those first 3 games, but the frame rate is the main reason why I just can't play them. I'm sure they're great games and they stand the test of time, but my eyes bleed and object to their existence. But it wasn't until late into high school that I started saving up and hunting down those other PS2 games. At the time, you still could find them in dollar bins at EB Games and the like. I snagged Another Age, Nexus, and Last Raven, complete in box doing that for dirt cheap. Nowadays, it's hard to find a copy that's not 30 to 40 bucks. Ever since 6 was announced, demand for the physical discs just shot up in price. I'm glad more people are into the series, but I really don't like spending through the nose for stuff because of it. Like, I would love to get my hands on a Fascinator kit and build that sucker, but I'm not paying over $200 for something that's normally $30 at retail. That's just absurd. Maybe those AliExpress listings are legit. I might snag one from there by the time this video comes out. Generally, it takes me about a week or 2 to write the script and then shoot it. I'm a slow bastard, okay? But speaking of being slow at things, since Silent Line, I flipped my opinion on Jak and Daxter. That game was cool, right up until you get to the halfway point where you realize the core gameplay loop never changes or evolves in any way. It's a slog of a collectathon right up to the final hour. I got up to 70 or so power cells and I just turned the game off. Now, why does this game not have ranks? That drives me nuts. For Attack Rektena installation, you don't need to engage anything once more. You just need to destroy the 4 or so antennas around the map, with the addition of the base in the center. Try not to run out of energy when you're moving from target to target, otherwise you're going to be bored out of your mind waiting for it to come back. Otherwise, there's nothing particularly threatening to you here. The only real thing is the jet missiles can prove bothersome with how they fling you around like a crash dummy. I did boot up Jak 2 right after though. I remember liking that game a lot in my youth, but now I just borderline loathe it. That GTA-style open world doesn't do enough to justify its existence in my eyes. It's just barren and empty spaces that only use to traverse between mission marks. And the missions themselves are pretty bad. To top it all off, the game is really mean for the wrong reasons. There's basically no checkpoints on all the levels, and there isn't enough health pickups on any of them. It just leaves a bad taste in the mouth when you're playing it. It's just not enjoyable to have effectively 4 health points while you're fighting the auto-aim. Speaking of which, what's the deal with Naughty Dog and their obsession with these half-baked minigames that last way longer than they have any right to? It's not even a problem with Precursor Legacy, every single game in the series does it, and I don't know why. Ooh, here's a cool level. They show you a cutscene for the Disorder units. Look how high concept that is, and all the budget that just went in. But for this level, aptly named Remove Disorder Units, you get to, you guessed it, blow up some Disorder units. This won't be the last time you run into these units, and they can do a grip if you're not paying attention. There are 3 sizes of these guys to contend with 2 different sets of health for all of them. The larger ones seem to be the weakest out of the bunch, you only need to slash them a single time. The medium ones take 2 shots and a slash, same as the small ones. However, the little ones cannot be bladed conventionally when attacking them head on. If you try to slash them while locked on, your blade will just pass over them. One option is to shoot them 3 or 4 times, which is honestly the better choice. The other is to try to position yourself so that they sit just outside your lock-on box and to your right, and slash them that way. It's very tricky to pull off, and if you focus too much on trying to get it, your AP will melt from under you. But to return to my previous point, I want to include the jet board in this criticism, but that's decently fleshed out. Even if when it comes down to it, it's still a simplified Tony Hawk game. The racing, on the other hand, really needs to be criticized. If you haven't played that game, there's a racing minigame that's a decent chunk of the way into the title, and it's mandatory for story progression. You need to do it at least 3 times in total, and I put the game down after the first one. And the reason being, it was just too long in the tooth. They wanted you to do 5 laps in total when you hit the shortcut and win 20 seconds in. Hitting that shortcut sucks, by the way, since it's over a pit of death, and if you fall in, guess what? You gotta restart the entire race again. It's like the studio just forgot to put any checkpoints in that game. After you hit that shortcut, it's just 6 minutes of your time being wasted for a shoddy racing minigame that's not even very deep. I just don't see the point of forcing the player to engage with something underbaked for that long and that frequently when there's other titles on the system that do far better than that game. Even the third game is not exempt from this. They force a horrible rhythm game on you within the first 20 minutes of the title, and again, it goes on far longer than it should. If it was a 10 to 20 second fling you engage with several times over the game, it would have been fine, and leagues better than forcing the player to sit down for 2+ minutes on the first one just waiting on nothing. When you look at it, it's borderline insulting to your intelligence. Then, of course, 10 minutes after that, you're shoved into yet another racing minigame that you win in 10 seconds flat. Then twiddle your thumbs for 5 minutes straight. Again, too many laps doing nothing. At least the races in town are a little bit more demanding, and short, and don't require multiple laps. But if I wanted to race as bad as Naughty Dog does, I would have booted up a better game, like Gran Turismo or F-Zero GX even. I'm all about making a good minigame that breaks up the pace, but not when it's long and mechanically boring. They should interact with the game's existing systems in some way so you can maintain a level of consistency regarding the quality. If not, make them very short. Otherwise, you walk away never wanting to engage with it again. But I can safely say I don't like that series anymore, and it's purely because of how poor the pacing is. For capture cargo, all that's required is that you catch up with the transport and destroy the 2 turrets on top of it. They have a fair bit of life on them, each requiring 4 or so missiles. The only thing that the targets on the road are for is to obfuscate your lock-on and chip you down, so ignore them outright. After you're done with the cutscene, you'll get one of the worst voice performances you've ever heard and a fight with a bipedal disorder unit. Take a listen to it while you're here. Alright, look, listen. Let's pull one of the devs into the audio booth and just have him stub his toe on something and we'll take that. Saved a fortune on that one. This rat bastard will melt your life, by the way. When I first recorded this, I watched it back and I thought I was playing really sloppily because of how low my life gets. And then I realized to my absolute horror that the lasers this monster shoots at you are just pure lies. The reality is you can't dodge them at all, it's just hit scan. The effect is smoke and mirrors. It's quite the sturdy bastard as well. I tried blading it on one attempt and its movement patterns made it quite the nuisance to pin down. Thankfully this is the only one you're forced to fight in the game, the rest you can fly past. Still doesn't excuse the lasers being hit scanned though, that shit is wank. Alright, Spaceport Escort. It is, to be blunt, a very ugly level on Starter AC. The intro cutscene is cool at least, the camera work is interesting, and it tries its best to be dynamic. I can't help but admire it. I don't know what it is, but maybe it's because this is just what I can generally do quality-wise that I find it charming. So the best way to go about this level is, at the start, turn around and overboost out of bounds and go about your day. I'm not kidding either. Alright, if you insist on completing it, you're gonna fight nothing but jets that fly by. 2 missiles each, or 1 missile and 1 shot with your rifle if you feel like your FCS is gonna work with you. You do get an ammo truck you can hit as many times as you need if that becomes a problem. Otherwise, the mission is just what you see here. Near the end of the level, a large bomber is going to swing by and you're going to spend 10 plus minutes shooting missiles at it as it harmlessly flies past you and doesn't hit you at all. Okay, look, it fucking sucks, okay? This just happens to be the ugly side of some challenge runs. Sometimes restrictions just break something entirely and you get experiences like this, wailing on something and whittling it down like it's an oak tree when your tool to do so is only a pocket knife. It's not the first or last time it'll happen. I am going to fast forward the bomber fight. Until then, you guys get to suffer with me. It might be wise to try and keep your allied MTs alive as much as possible, considering their damage is pretty respectable compared to yours under these restrictions at least. That doesn't happen in this footage, and you can't pay me enough to come back and reshoot this level. I do want to apologize for this video taking so long. Between my last Raven video and this, Kazan came out, and I was super excited for it. That demo seemed really solid. So it released and the game stole a week and a half from me, and it's partly to blame for the slow turnaround. The thing is though, if I didn't say I was going to beat it on stream, I would have uninstalled it halfway through. I'm not going to talk about it too much here. I don't enjoy speaking on things I legitimately dislike. Yeah, color me surprised as well. I will say that the learning process for that game is harder than the actual execution of it. Hopefully the devs will go in and fine-tune some things and that game will be great in the future. Briefly streaming the entirety of Bujingai also sapped a good amount of time away from me. Strange game that. If anyone wants to watch a VOD of it, since Twitch doesn't keep anything past a week, I have an unlisted archive on the channel. It's the first playlist when you scroll down on my page. Speaking of the channel though, I got a story for you guys. It ties into some of the points that I brought up in my Silent Line video, and I didn't get an opportunity to tell it then either. So earlier this year, or in around February, I had family come in from out of state to visit. Typically it's my grandparents that do this. They paint a picture, think young, late 80s, super active all considered, but not terribly technologically literate. We usually have dinner with my mother who happens to be close by, catch up on life, you know, the usual stuff. However, this time around, when they came to visit, they threw a curveball at me. My uncle was with them, and we dropped by a great local burger joint for lunch. The place we went is kind of unusual in that there's no real seating in the building. Instead, they have a bunch of benches you could sit down and eat on, and not much else. And they've been doing this for like the past 50 years or so. But we were talking, and one of the things that got brought up was what I've been doing, since I'm in between jobs at the moment. Now, typically, I'm one who never breathes a word about any of this to family. Something about it just rubs me the wrong way and leaves me mortified at the thought of loved ones just stumbling into my work. So here's my stupid ass. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking at that moment in time, but my uncle, bless him, was the only one that was really interested in what I was saying, and he wanted to see what I was on about. And normally I get to speak with a man maybe once every 10 years or so. So I don't know why. I pulled out my phone and I pulled out the YouTube channel and showed it to him and we talked about it a bit. I ended up mentioning that I wasn't really finding any purchase here since it's so hard to do well on the platform, but at the very least I'm diversifying my skill sets with video editing. You know. The man had this to say about it. It was verbatim, well, just make better videos then. Oh, even just saying that hurts me. For context, the dude is probably the smartest man I know. Super successful in life, was one of the programmers that pioneered General Motors OnStar. I know he probably doesn't have enough context or free time to even learn about how YouTube works, but hearing the man I look up to say that made me want to find a hole and crawl inside of it. Of course, in the moment, I just rolled my eyes and joked, well, if only it was so easy. But I assured you, inside I was screaming, no, at the top of my internal lungs. Meanwhile, my grandparents were just chilling there, giving me that disappointing look of, oh, here he goes again, talking about that online internet nonsense. It is quite funny looking back on it. The one time I decided to be a little bit more open about it, and I get nailed to the cross for it. Got me thinking, though, how different this platform would be if it operated like that. But it goes to show, even outside the bubble, the thought process of work hard and you'll be successful just persists damn near everywhere you go. Because let's face it, reality just doesn't function like that. I'm sure most people watching have a story or two to tell about giving a company your all and having it backfire horribly. Life just ain't like that. On that note about companies, though, I need to figure out why submitting resumes online is such an ass experience. I didn't realize it was that bad nowadays. I'm in the tech side of the pond over here, and it's like a horror movie trying to find work. Half the time you click on a listen and it just redirects you to the company's website, fine and dandy that, but oh yeah, the jet fight is coming up here. I will see you after the fast forward. That legitimately did take 15 minutes of me just shooting missiles at this thing. It is ridiculous. Like, inexcusable, really. I don't know why it has that much health. And you just can't interact with it. It's a pain in the ass. You only get 1 or 2 rockets on it every time it flies by. It's stupid. Legitimately is the low point in the playthrough. But, moving on, we get to my favorite level in the game. Assist Malea Base. I think I'm saying that right. Game just drops you in and lets you cut loose against some disorder units. The arena is a repurposed multiplayer map, so it's just complex enough to let you bob and weave between cover and break line of sight. You do want to be moderately efficient with your ammo here, since there is quite the crowd to contend with. Otherwise, it's just 4 minutes of blowing stuff up. Damage can rapidly stockpile on you, so try to place yourself in positions where you can force the enemies to turn around. Their turn radius might be worse than yours. And remember not to get too anal about trying to slash the smaller disorder units. It's not worth the time spent, honestly. Kind of like what I was doing there, I got really stuck up on trying to air blade that large unit, and because of the geometry, it just didn't work out for me. But yeah, submitting resumes online fucking sucks. So when they redirect you to the website, it's fine. Then they ask for your resume, you upload it, and on the following page, they ask you to fill out what's on your resume into their system for them. Well, like, what am I even doing here at this point? Why is the impetus on me to navigate the websites that might as well be designed by the government, submit a document for them only to ignore it entirely? Sometimes they have drop-downs for the schools you've been to. The worst offender I've seen had only 10 available to pick from, with no option to input anything manually, so I guess my stupid ass didn't go to school according to this company. Don't even get me started on cover letters either. I'm over here sending out way too many applications to be bothered with that kind of bullshit. I'm almost sure no one even reads them anymore either. It's all filtered by AI regardless. AI in general is something I'm starting to notice is ruining everything that it touches. The most obvious being Nvidia's overboard level of focus on it, DLSS and frame generation being the new thing to target for the 50 series, and rasterization performance year over year leaves a lot to be desired, but it goes further than that. YouTube's creator dashboard has this new tab, and I call it new, it's actually not new, it's been there for a little while now, called Inspiration that uses AI. It's to help give ideas to content creators and generate thumbnails. You've probably spotted a couple of those thumbnails out in the wild. Some of them look alright, all considered, but most just look wrong and usually have nothing to do with the video. It's the outline feature that concerns me. Like, for example, I saw this one video on 10 reasons why Bloodborne needs a remaster. Kid you not, the entire video was structured like ChatGPT wrote it. It's about 13 minutes in length. 4 of those minutes are bitching about blood vials. It got to the point, though, where I was legitimately starting to question whether or not the person even played the game at all. And of course, when I looked over to my other monitor to see the footage, there was clips from their stream of the individual playing the game. Some things they brought up were really concerning, like how soul memory ruined Bloodborne. That game doesn't have soul memory. Half a second of research confirms that. Then they went on to claim that Chalice dungeons are pay to win because they're locked behind PlayStation Plus. That's also just horribly incorrect. You can make your own root chalices offline. You only need PS Plus when you're searching for specific glyphs. And of course, the dude made no mention of this. It keeps going though, little things that just don't add up. And when you look at those outlines in that tab, it's eerily similar to what the page would spit out for you. Even the wording for his complaints sounded like it was straight from ChatGPT. This is not a small channel either. It has over 150,000 subs. But no shade to that YouTuber. He's found success and he has a workflow. I'm not going to hold being wrong against him. Shit happens. The point I'm getting at is that people are starting to become more and more reliant on these AI models. When it wasn't that long ago, some of them were suggesting to put glue on pizza. Threat Interactive, an engineer that's going on a holy crusade against the poor optimization that's plaguing the industry currently, mentioned how one dev that was previously against him and his viewpoints didn't even watch his videos and instead relied on ChatGPT by feeding it the auto-generated transcripts for a summary. Lo and behold, what spat out was just flat out wrong and gave that person the wrong impression. They've changed their mind since. Carl Jobs, when he lost his lawsuit against Billy Mitchell, offhandedly said that he fed the case info in the ChatGPT and it said that he had no chance of losing. People don't realize that there isn't any intelligence with these models. It's a glorified advanced Google search. There's no consciousness, it's just attempting to guess the next most probable word. Zero free will. The technology is only going to get more and more advanced as time goes on, but we shouldn't ever be placing faith into these LLMs. And that's not even getting into the ethics behind the lack of creativity. There's even tools out there that will rewrite any prompt you feed it. I'm sure if you looked hard enough, you could find some channels leaning heavily on that. Anyways, Escort Train, pretty sure this level's a remake from the first game. You drop in and you wait a bit, I'm gonna cut that out, only for jets to return and start harassing you. Sometimes I dream in the constant drone those bastards do. Not much has changed since the last time you dealt with them. They're still annoying as hell, stagger the dickens out of you with the rockets, still fly away and make you want to dive out a window. After about a minute of this, you'll get into a fight against an AC. While catastrophes are going to be more focused on the train than you, anytime he hits you, you will be sent flying, so that's fun. If you do want to end the mission early, blow up the middle segment and grab the hidden part. The game will autofail you when you do, but it will still count as a mission clear. So I'm not pressed for time, right? Talked about apes in my last video. Go to 2 bears now. So I was doing some research, and I wanted to start with the movie Hercules in New York. Since Arnie wrestles was clearly a man in a bear getup. Figured, hey, one of my favorite actors. It's his first gig in the industry. It's apropos for my research. Everything's coming together. Except it didn't. That movie is seriously ass. Don't watch it. And here's the AC. I think blading might be the way to go with him. His movement patterns alongside the jets knocking around makes keeping him in the lock-on box quite the chore. ACs in this game are typically classified as MTs and do reduced damage, but those weapon arms of his do a grip, but thankfully the AI prefers the back rockets. Once he's gone, the mission might as well be over with. Nothing respawns past this point, and the jets can't do enough damage to destroy the train and cause you to fail the mission. I can't be the only one that thinks that the knockback on those arms is just a little too much, and by a little I mean way too damn much. I mean, just look at that. It sends me flying like 100 feet away. It's ridiculous. Yet when you get hit while standing on the ground, you don't move anymore. It's strange. And that explosion effect you just saw on the ground, that hits twice. And both hits can stagger you, it's very strange. Thankfully, in a little bit, he flies straight up in the air and I could just double missile him and call it a day. After this, it's just this one jet that I can't missile for about a minute straight, so I'm just gonna cut all of it out. I wish I could say that was a fun level, but I left out several minutes of me just standing around doing nothing. You just fight jets the entire time. It kinda sucks. Ooh, check out the CG work here. It's completely unnecessary, but I appreciate the glimpse into how AC construction goes down. The model is certainly the one featured on the cover art. The scaling, though, here makes me wonder about the size. That man is almost as tall as the core of the AC. It might have something to do with the aspect ratio. I'm not too sure. I adore this level. It's lightning fast. All you have to do is reach the final door. I recommend doing that too, since fighting the enemies here can be really annoying. You're gonna have to deal with these shotgun drones at some point regardless, but until then, avoid them like they're the plague. While we are here, I'm glad that the shooting the panels to open the doors concept never made it past this game. Trying to finally turn your AC is not ideal. I do like the concept of it, just like how I like the concept of using your secondary weapon key to open doors, but you'll always get these instances where you try to interact with something, you end up firing your secondary weapon. It doesn't really hold up when you start using like something in your offhand that's not a blade and has ammo. Even more so when said ammo is really limited. Plus, any time you get into a fight near a door, it's the worst thing ever because it just locks out your left hand. And here we get a cutscene showcasing the Frighteners. You'll be seeing more of them later throughout the game's runtime. I like their theme. Prom ends up replacing the mission songs with that track later on in the game. It's to give you the feeling that shit's starting to go down, you know? Ground-based assaults. This level can be tricky if you decide to engage with it. If not, you can stand on the spire of the bridge and just let most of it play itself. You'll have to deal with the jets, but other than that, it's a forgettable mission if you do this. I'm not going to be doing that though. I want to make things a little bit more interesting, so I'm staying on the ground here. Don't try to blade anything. These roller MTs are going to chunk you every time they land a stray hit. If you're aggressive here, don't be shocked when you check your AP, you're down several thousand of it. Missiles and the MTs behind you are going to be your primary ways of dealing with them. It's just they're way too stocky for the amount the game throws at you. They have like 4 or 5 times the amount of health that they should, in my opinion. At least they're somewhat uncommon. You only need to fight them a handful of times in total. Ideally, you don't engage them like I am and just bring them to the back line to be dealt with. They come in sets of 4. About halfway through the mission, a wall of fog will roll in, spawning a couple more jets and some additional waves of 4 to deal with. And I'm already almost half dead, so you can imagine how conservatively I have to play going forward. I should mention that mission-wise, I just grabbed whatever was on the topmost selection. I don't know enough about the game, but you may be able to skip some of the more annoying levels by picking something else instead. And it's cool that the title lets you do this. You're even rewarded with different parts opening up in the shop for you to buy, depending upon what company you pick throughout the game. Now mind you, you're not locked into anything once once you beat it, you get free mission mode and you can get all the parts that way. But it's just a super novel concept that's not really expanded upon too much. And when you're fighting these rollers on this bridge, as long as you maintain a decent distance and back up with them, you should be able to lock onto them individually with your missile launcher or just rifle them as you slowly backpedal. Getting them up close and having them move around you is the worst case scenario, so just stay just outside their aggro range. I think they need 5 missiles apiece to blow up. Don't quote me on that though. But my search for bears in movies led me to the titular film The Bear from '88. Movie's about a bear cub that has its parent die in a rock slide while digging up a beehive from a tree. Wanders around for a bit, struggling to get by before running into a male brown Kodiak bear who adopts him. They don't tend to do that, by the way, adopting young from other bears. Tend to eat them. Anyways, lots of incredibly scenic shots. Still shots and zoom-ins, giving the impression you're watching a nature documentary. And it takes over 15 minutes for a single word to be spoken, and it's from a pair of hunters looking for the other bear. Dialogue between them is legitimately under 250 words for the entire runtime, too. When we finally see the bear, though, holy fuck, he's huge! Dude's 9 feet tall when standing up and 1,500 pounds. He weighs like half the weight of my car. Initially, I thought, fucking hell, the suit or whatever production ended up using looks super lifelike. Damn, Hollywood is crazy. Turns out, no, the movie is A, French, so Hollywood had fuck all to do with it, and B, that's a real goddamn bear on set. Then it dawned on me why the shot style is the way it is. That's a trained bear on the set, doing this shit. The bear's name is Bart the Bear, and it wasn't even his first gig. He starred in The Great Outdoors, On Dudley Ground with Steven Seagal, horrendous movie that only watched to make fun of it, and 12 Monkeys with Bruce Willis, just to name a few of them. I never knew this bear crossed over with some of my other interests like that. But dude, learning that fact that it's a trained bear, it totally recontextualized how I was looking at the movie as a whole. The majority of the filming for the movie was done in the Dolomites in Italy. Initially, I thought it was in the US at first, somewhere like in the Rocky Mountains or something, and I didn't even realize that Italy had bears until today. But that just goes to show how close-minded and ignorant I am. There was this one scene in the film that really stood out to me, and it's where Chiki Karyu's character went to the side of a cliff to refill on water, only to be ambushed by Bart. The cliff face where it was shot is at least 100 feet up in the air, and the walkable path is maybe 2 or 3 feet in width at best. And the shot has the actor literally boxed in with his apex predator. Like, Bart is positioned maybe 5 or 6 feet away from the actor, and the script has him roar and paw rocks at him. It's super precarious and just terrifying to even think about. I hope he got hazard pay for it. Speaking of things that need hazard pay, this level. Save water generation plant is just another case of the mission asking you to get to the end. You can hit a couple sub-objectives to reduce the heat in the final room, I think. Honestly, I just go for a few of them for no real reason outside of they were there and not that far out of the way. Try to save your AP as much as possible for the end. There's a really nasty surprise waiting for you, and be careful as you're crossing the walkways. There are pits on each side of the first hallway you can fall into, and it's really annoying to get out when you have starter AC. All that said, this is still a pretty good level to practice your overboost in, at least. The audio in that bear movie is pretty good too. I have to shout out the ADR team. There was only a couple instances where you can tell it's a person adding effects to the cub to make you emphasize with it more, and there's a few shots you can tell they had to add the dialogue in post. It's really easy to forget that each scene with an animal in it has a trainer just out of shot yelling commands at him. The film must have been a logistical nightmare to shoot. Not a movie I ever would have watched normally. If it wasn't for this project, I for sure would have skipped it instead of letting it marinate a bit. I'm glad that I did. As for bears in real life, there's Wojtek, who served in World War II for the Polish with the 2nd Transport Company, ferrying ammo and enjoying eating cigarettes and drinking coffee in the mornings. The big lad even wrestled with the men and was taught how to salute. He enjoyed copying those around him and ended up retiring after the war and was given to the Edinburgh Zoo. Cool individual to read about, and he's a bear. And here is the nasty surprise I was telling you about earlier. Second kind of bipedal disorder unit. This dude's a fucking asshole. I hope the AI programmer after this game retired for doing this. The only good thing about this unit is that his jaw is made of glass. Everything he does will stagger the shit out of you, and it's really fucking annoying. And a lot of his movement and attack patterns are replicated on the final boss. As for the man in the room with you, try to get him against the wall and just trade with him with the blade. That kills him pretty effectively. Alternatively, meet him in the air and do a bunch of air/cancels on him. Once he goes down, destroy the generator in the center of the room, and the mission is over. I still don't know if the premise of heat building up in the center of the room even matters at all. It really seems like it doesn't. What does matter is Assault Underwater Base. This mission is the longest level in the game. When you look up footage for this level, you're going to see constant 15+ minute videos on it. I'm going to clear it in half that time. The objective is to destroy a certain number of props on the map. I'm going to clear every room in the footage, but you can route it in such a way that allows you to skip the final room with the acid pods if you desire. The main things you're going to be blowing up are boxes. After that, it's various bits of infrastructure you come across. One thing to note is the electrified floors. I don't recommend letting them stay up, and you can disable them by shooting the pipes on the walls. It's going to be here that you must really contend with those shotgun MTs you probably flew past earlier. Let me tell you, out of the entire enemy roster, it's these schmucks that are the worst. The level designers adore putting them into enclosed spaces with you, and they do way too much damn damage. It takes 3 rifle shots to put them to the ground. Thankfully, they spawn in tight clusters, so there's a couple instances where you can let them friendly fire each other and make your life easier. Since they spawn in as soon as you open the door, you can't really cheese a lock-on through the wall, which is unfortunate. The long hallways between the rooms house rocket MTs that, while aren't as threatening, are still annoying to deal with. 3 rifle shots and a blade swing apiece. Finally, at the end of the level, there's another AC fight, but it's reduced in capacity to make it more fair for the player, which is appreciated. Regarding other real-life bears, there is the bear Winnie the Pooh is based on, but that bear is Canadian, so fuck 'em. Now mind you, there's always been a point to me talking about gorillas, and now bears. After everything I've learned, I want to finally put that matchup to bed. There's only one way a bear versus gorilla fight can end. It's such a stupid image. For whatever reason, people seem to underestimate bears and overestimate gorillas. I think maybe it's because the bears can be considered cute at times? I'm not sure. There's an argument on Twitter right now about whether or not a single ape can take on 100 men. People are legit going in on it too. What I want to know, is it a kumite like the one Frank Du was supposedly in? Are we doing 100 1v1 fights with no breaks in between? 100 guys in a swarm? Stamina is a serious issue here. What of the body weight index of the men? What about the arena? Are there walls? Is it an infinite stage? There's too many questions. What a strange thing to blow up. Meanwhile, I'm over here in a hole looking into Karjitsu championships. It's like BJJ, but in a car, and it's just 2 men trying to strangle each other with seatbelts, and you can't see shit. It's very stupid. So I'm gonna start my anti-op, intensify, and human plus by extension TED Talk here. Let me begin by saying that it's something I've been observing when digging into forum posts and old videos and the like. From the looks of it, there is a community consensus that you should be using it whenever possible, since the AI cheats, so you might as well too, and that it's in the game. Even when looking up footage for some missions, I've noticed a good amount of them for the S-Rank videos use it. To summarize what it does, it's either a cheat mechanic that you get for failure, or a post-game part reward that has a bunch of unlock requirements. Or, alternatively, it's a cheat in the action replay. This is one of 2 crates that will disable your radar regardless of where you are when you destroy them. It's only for like 30 seconds or so, it's still irritating, I don't know why it's there. It's quite the popular thing, to the point where the games are famous for having it. I understand where some of the thought process is coming from. Controls, for the longest time, were ass, and the games were hard to play because of it. The AI does in fact totally cheat. There's a certain appeal to the power fantasy, and if you don't really get how to build your mech, you can have a pretty bad time. And Human Plus helps alleviate a lot of the pain points players can end up with. That may have been one of the smartest things From ever did, now that I think about it, having Op-I at the end of the game as a post-game reward. But I've never found role-playing games and the like where you can specialize your method of interacting with the game to be compelling when you end up being able to do everything. Having restrictions and things you just simply cannot do can force you to go about finding alternative methods for completing objectives, and that leads you to looking at things in a different light. Otherwise, anytime you play a JRPG, just for example, why would you have a party system if one character can just do it all? You can easily think of any game like that in instances where like being able to open locks opens a shortcut or a hidden cache you normally wouldn't be able to get at. It's always been the consideration of both your strengths and weaknesses that made games interesting, at least for me. For this franchise's PS2 games, part choice doesn't even really change your playstyle all that much anyways. Outside the chest and legs, after that it's just criminally underutilized. If anything, they could have tripled down on how parts interact with each other, or just the functionality of everything really. For instance, imagine a game where if you cheap out on the head so much, your optics starts to suffer and you lose detail while in game, to the point where levels just turn into wireframe. How cool would that be? Or you put so much power into your FCS computation that your generator starts experiencing overvolts and brownouts. Heat, as well, could have been heavily expanded on, and each part generate passive heat that you have to dissipate somehow, instead of just having to be boosters in some environments. Let your arms articulate in ways not humanly possible on the higher-end models. Go really in on repair costs, and have legitimate considerations for running cheaper but more robust parts instead of increasing the income per mission to compensate. I'm getting sidetracked here. The thing I'm trying to get at is, I don't really understand why someone would take the little variety part selection can offer the player and decide to just nuke it entirely. I think personally that using Op-I leads to homogenized experience. You stop caring about whether or not you sacrifice having a radar or using a head with a pared down internal one. No longer do you consider back weapons and if you want to change your legs or not to enable you to be more effective with them. There's not even a consideration for your booster and generator, since it halves your booster costs and lets you pretty much fly forever. It's like a training aid in easy mode even for a series of games that frankly were never terribly difficult in the first place. You remove the horde control scheme and the majority of its difficulty just disappears. Even in Last Raven, where From goes out of its way to be cheap as hell, the AI doesn't hold up under mild scrutiny. It never has, really. It's why I don't understand the complaint of, well, the AI uses it. They sorta need to in order to threaten the player, and even then, that's never been the deciding factor on whether a particular enemy ends up being really annoying to deal with or not. Them using back weapons in the air is like the least egregious thing they can do. All the other benefits the part adds is just lost on the computer. It's not like the engine needs the booster buffs or the radar. The game always knows where you are and it has infinite energy anyways. It's always been an illusion that the back weapons in the air amounts to basically nothing since they can't use it very well. The AMS upgrade only helps a little bit, but they're not programmed to avoid missiles, so again, they kinda need it. The best thing to ever come from the part was the blade attack wave, and even then, it's super situational and more cool than functional. So I'm confused really on why it's so prevalent in footage and the like. Am I overestimating the average player's ability? Maybe it's just confirmation bias and most people never used it. It's just those who did like to talk about it and share more. As I've said before, my sense for these things is so skewed I can't really tell anymore what's hard. But surely I'm not alone in thinking that posting videos of gain S ranks with it on cheapens the accomplishment, right? Just because it's in the game doesn't mean you should use it. We can't grow as players if we rely on crutches instead of learning how to walk on our own. Plus, there's the obvious of, well, it's a New Game Plus part. Anyone looking up a walkthrough on how to beat the level is probably new and won't have access to the thing anyways, so it's basically alienating your own audience. Man, I don't know. I'm struggling to articulate that. It just doesn't sit right with me for a variety of reasons. But I also can't sit right in my own damn chair, so my opinion doesn't really matter. What I do know is originally I was going to use some character strengths and weaknesses from Tekken and start listing some things off the top of my head for this topic. That turned into roughly 5 pages, even condensed down, so I'm just gonna throw all that out. No one wants to listen to that. Ooh, speaking of doing things wrong. You know that studio I was talking about in my last Raven video? It's not Redice. It's Red Ice. I'm a fucking fool! Like, how was I supposed to know? It was a single word, right? I'm like, come on. But on a more serious note, for things being done wrong anyways, I swear up and down my city does its bins like actual psychopaths. But before I get into that, let me speak about Assault Dog here for a second. He's present. I like the color scheme. Thing is, he's treated like an MT in this mission, much like most other AC fights in the game. What do I mean by that? Well, as you can see from the damage I'm going to take from his back rocket, he's heavily reduced in capacity, less than 100 AP damage dealt, to starter AC with some of the worst defenses you can get in the game. You could say he's a sheep in wolf's clothing. I'm gonna speculate that he's doing about 1/10 the damage he should be doing. And honestly, this is totally fine. I have no problems with this. It's incredibly fair, feather in the game's cap. Considering that there was such a long mission prior to getting up to this dude, you're most likely gonna run into him with like 1,000 AP or so, and while it's a bit of a handout on From's end, it's still something that most designers wouldn't do, and I respect the hell out of the restraint they showed there. Now we get to go into a pretty fun level, and it involves jumping into this pit. Some of these takes just live rent-free in my head, god damn it, man. This is another blazing fast level under starter AC. Fall down at a capped velocity and get to the end of the tunnel while dodging some disorder units and taking a ride on the most advanced travelator in the series. You can find the Moonlight here as a hidden part if you want to grab it. It's in the corridor with the moving walkway in the middle. There's a floor door you need to shoot a bunch of times before it lets you pass, and then you fall down into the bottom of this cavern to get it on a platform. Can't use it in this run, so alas. I do adore the design of it in this game, and it's a great blade to boot. Otherwise, you don't need to fire a shot, just reach the final door and you'll be out of here. If you have no restrictions on the use of limit release, you could easily get to the end faster than it takes for you to fall down the hole. Bloody strong mechanic, man. I understand why they banned it in comp play and removed it from the series. Just pop the thing near the end and timer scam people, right? I almost feel bad for not properly engaging with the level and destroying everything there. Almost. The next level got rid of that feeling for me entirely. Arden River Invasion. You could, if you really wanted to, blow up enough enemies to get the proper version of the mission clear, but under starter AC, it's just really irritating to do. The air units like to sit directly on top of your head, and there's a bunch of rollers that, again, have too much health to effectively deal with them. Your allies can deal with them quite well, but as soon as you reach one end of the map, they explode for no reason and leave you on your own. So forget about even going for that. Instead, overboost to one end of the map, then back to the start, and you'll get a mission complete that way. Unless you're me and fuck that up and do the walk of shame to the end. I'm not re-recording this, fuck that. This mission can kick rocks, man. But once again, if you have limit release, this is like 10 seconds of your life. Effortless even. I spent way too long trying to survive and blow up those rollers. It really wasn't worth the effort. And it's not like I need the money, I can't use the shop. Moving on to Destroy Radar Base. This map is a bit of a schlep. There's a hidden part in the third garage to your left at the start. The level's a multi-parter, but From does heal and give you a full resupply between them. Game throws some laser turrets on an elevated platform in front of you. Going left lets you engage them with your missiles and not aggro the rollers here. Speaking on those rollers, they are a different unit compared to their shotgun counterparts. They're not as threatening and less health to boot. 3 rifle shots and a blade to defeat. But they move around a bunch, and getting a blade on them can be harder than it should. You will have to destroy everything in this first half, but again, you get a full heal and a resupply. I do wish I had more to say about this section, but it's just the beginning bit you have to do multiple times. It doesn't really get a chance to evolve, which is a little bit unfortunate. Dude, this is Great Horned Owl that's been at my neighborhood for like 10 years now. Every time it's quiet out, it just feels wrong. Like I need to hear an owl in the distance to be comfortable. God, the way my brain works just puzzles me. But nah, enough of that. I'm getting distracted. I need to talk about the binman. So, location is everything, right? I live north of Chicago, but south of Canada. So there's a little bit of a range here for your mind to fill in the gaps. And as of last year, maybe even the year prior, my local municipality decided to change the way the city handles garbage collection. Get a load of this, right? On every holiday, cities tend to forgo collection that day, then do collection the next business day, then go back to the normal day of pickup. Standard affair, right? Oh no, not where I live. See, my city is a special snowflake. We have to do things a little bit differently over here. After every missed day, collection is then collected on the new day. So if it was previously on a Friday and a bank day or whatever happens to be on that day, the city will collect on Monday and then continue to collect on that day until another holiday comes by. How stupid is this? It gets worse. They have a new policy now that bins need to be on the curb by 4 a.m. the day of, or something silly like that, when collection happens at either 8 a.m. in my area or 2 in the afternoon. To enforce this, they invented this position of some dude with a tablet driving around and checking off houses on a map if they have their bins down or not. And they do this in the ass ends of the early morning. Someone is getting paid to drive around and check if bins are on the curb or not, instead of just taking the bins that are on the curb when they get there. And if you put your bin down too late and you're not on that list, they don't collect. Insanity. Speaking of insanity, if the first part of this level was a schlep and just kind of tedious, this is some hot dog shit. Ahead is several rooms of RJs that have one goal in life, and that is to chain stagger you into the next century. Objective-wise, you don't need to defeat them, but good luck hitting the doors with the bastards present. Once you're in aggro range, they do nothing but fire rockets, even when you're behind a wall. Not that it really matters, these rockets can damage you through walls like you're playing Blood 2. Fantastic design from, thank you very much. And they have a little bit of separation between each unit, but it's still possible to get them to friendly fire each other. We are such a long way from Doom and monster infighting. The very idea that one of the first shooters on the market invented friendly fire, even made it a whole mechanic and did so as elegantly as it was, that is still to this day not really seen in other games, show how far ahead it was. Intentional design ahead of its time, while here you can tell it's more circumstantial than anything else. I do wish From would have gone a bit more in on it. Most of the units you fight are automated anyway, so in universe it would make perfect sense to do so. Behind this door is a pair of tall boy MTs. Just ignore them. You can find your AP drop dramatically if you try to fight them head on. Right, bastards. Right now I'm imagining this world where instead of getting ping-ponged by those MTs and being utterly annoyed by it, you instead take up to the edge of the room, get some infighting going, and watch them blow each other up. That would have made a ton of the engagements you get in far more dynamic than what we ended up with. Instead, after Silent Line, the company got really careful and went out of its way to avoid instances of it happening. It's quite unfortunate, really. And don't do what I'm doing here in this hallway. Just overboost through it to get to the final door. Otherwise, you turn into me and treat that tall boy like a cave spider in an EDF game back when they could wallbang you. Fuck this unit all in all. It does a grip and has life for days. Rough to deal with considering there's more mission behind it. It's more scary than some of the AC fights, and that's just sad. Coming up is a fantastic example of early aughts game design and just overlooking the little things. Armored Core 2 is a pretty good game all around, but it hiccups in spots, and that makes you wonder how it even got past quality control, or if the team even had one in the first place. So here's the AC cutscene. I'll just let it play out for a second. Fairly interesting camera angles to look at. It's quite dynamic.
We're both Ravens. No hard feelings, right?
And then there's this. This isn't edited, by the way. He just hits you coming out of the cutscene. Fucking bullshit. And it's not even the last time this game will do it. It will repeat this offense over and over. So if you're wondering why there isn't a no damage run of this game, it's because of bullshit like that. And it's not because starter AC is too slow to avoid it. He just straight up hits you frame one out of the cutscene. It's fantastic. After that incredibly cheap shot, this guy is just flat out worthless. Tank legs and doesn't even boost around. Just tries to bunny hop and fails miserably as it collides with the wall and shooting singular rockets at you. Hang back and missile his ass. It irks me something fierce when games pull crap like that. Like any sense of propriety just flies out the window. I legitimately cannot think of a single reason why pulling a fast one like that is even acceptable. Games should not damage the player when they have no agency in the matter, ever. It goes against the fundamental principle of rewarding player skill and punishing them for making mistakes. The entire point of challenge runs is player expression and getting to look at things differently. Yet when you hit that door, you are now the exact same as everyone else who's ever played. Unless you're playing an RPG or whatever that does attrition-style combat, it's just garbage when you break that rule. It legitimately makes me mad. Anyways, moving on to Guard HQ Rooftop. What's the deal with From and forcing you to guard a headquarters from the roof? It's almost in every single game. Take a wild guess what you get to fight in this level. You know it, I know it, your mother knows it. It's more jets. I'm starting to think half the runtime is just being harassed by aircraft. From seems to be obsessed with them in this game, or at least someone on the design team had a hard-on for dealing with flyers. Oh, planes, man! They're like trains, but even cooler, man! I can see it now. You do get a pair of ACs dropped at the end of the level, and that mixes things up just a little bit. Either way, no matter how you cut it, this map is very boring in one note. The arena is uninteresting and the bombers exist to only waste your time and ammo. So me and Nick went deep into Crab Champions of late. I know what you're thinking. Just looking at the store page for it, it looks like some April Fool's asset flip, but there's legitimately a lot more going on with it. It's Risk or Rain, but with crabs, and it's made by the guy who did the crab raid video. I got diamond ranked with my account at last, being do a true nightmare run with every gun and gadget in the game. Some of our latest runs have been really silly. The last one we did had my crab become 2,000% larger than the default model and spin around like a helicopter with a katana while shooting out black holes that encompass the entire map. The gun would shoot out flaks so large and so numerous you wouldn't be able to see anything and would rebound back and forth over and over. Super stupid, but good fun that game. Funny how One Man Passion Project seems to be the only multiplayer games I'm even playing anymore. He keeps trying to get me to play the finals with him, and I'm being a lazy bastard about it. I heard they added a normal deathmatch to it. The 3v3v3s is always what put me off. In other gaming news, that Oblivion remake/remaster came out of nowhere a week or so back. What a charming game. Anytime I hear Jeremy Soul's music, in particular piece of Akatosh, I just get super nostalgic now. The man can make taking a shower seem like just the greatest thing. Oblivion does a lot of things better than its sequel, and it's kind of funny to think about nowadays. Why is it that unironically mages are more usable in that game than Skyrim? Do we really need to lose the ability to cast without swapping gear just to get dual-wield spells and less of them to boot? It always bugged me that, and I don't particularly like either of those games, although I'm thoroughly enamored with the idea of them. I'm still waiting for that open-world fantasy game with mechanical complexity and its combat systems to just come out and sweep me off my feet. And no, maggot, FF16 does not count. Go back to playing Dynasty Warriors, you bum. But that genre has so much untapped potential in it. Like, legitimately, outside of Two Worlds, Elder Scrolls games, and maybe Dragon's Dogma on a good day, there's just not much there. And anytime a game comes out that checks off all those boxes, it does really well sales-wise, so I'm kinda surprised there's not more titles like it. Like, shit, Skyrim is one of the best-selling games of all time, yet its impact on the industry is almost non-existent. It's so strange. I'm just hoping that it's just a case of me not knowing that the games came out and they've flown under the radar for me. That release does have me thinking, though. A, how Cyrodiil needs some sprinklers installed because goddamn is that game brown now. And B, remakes these days seem to be disregarding a lot of the design that went into the UI for the original titles. This is just some trend I'm seeing, or at least random chaos I'm attempting to identify a pattern in. Take a look at Demon's Souls, for example. Super stylized presentation with its user interface, with these really slick animations on almost every single part of the menu. Then Bluepoint comes in and replaces it all with this ugly, minimalist, modern look. Almost like it's being gentrified. It's something I've been noticing ever since Strive came out with its tramp stamp style UI. Ninja Gaiden 2 Brown does it as well. That original health bar is one of the sickest I've ever seen in my life, and that new one, it looks worse than Sigma 2's, and I didn't even know that was possible. The Dead Space remake at least followed the UI design, even if my praise for that game ends there. RE4R, on the other hand, did the same and replaced the attaché case with that minimalism. Same could be said with the other two remake games before it. Of course, that's not usually the case, pun intended. System Shock 2 years ago straight up took a calculator presentation and retooled it into something modern without losing its visual identity. Pretty good remake all around that game, too. The shooting can do with a little bit more feedback, but that's about all I can complain about, really. It's just odd to me, though. That minimalist look appears like crap to me now, since everyone and their mother have been doing it. What happened to artistic expression? I miss when the industry was willing to take risks, not pumping out this regurgitated slop. I think it's dire when remakes are being contenders for Game of the Year. It says it all, really. Oh, thank goodness, something is finally happening with this mission. 2 ACs are going to drop in. They are Frightener units. Reverse joints armed with missiles and a pulse rifle plus a blade. The AI likes to hop about with them and go straight up in the air. Just dump your missiles into one and rifle the other while taking whatever opportunity to blade you can. It's a slow process and everything they do staggers you, so it's not particularly interesting to look at. God, this level sucks. I understand it's still early in the series and all, and it's the first PS2 title for the franchise, but damn man, do we really need 7-minute long levels with 5 of those minutes just waiting around on nothing? Life is short enough as it is. Wasting it on this just feels insulting. This has been legitimately bothering me for some time now. I'm sure everyone listening has come across instances where you're trying to find information about whatever really, and has been stonewalled by search engines and the like. I've been fiddling with this incremental shark game on the side when bored. I've gotten stuck in it several times now, and it's one of those games where letting time pass is usually the worst case scenario. Instead, you need to adjust your build and see how the numbers change and get past whatever hurdle you're currently at. Problem is, when you Google the game and guide or whatever you happen to be looking for, you get nada, nothing. There's only a handful of Reddit threads floating about, and in them are a very small amount of pain points that are brought up and how to get around them. Chances are, if you stumble into those threads, they won't tell you what you need to know. Just join the devs Discord instead if you want info. Everyone points you towards that. I've been refusing to participate in that rhetoric for a little while now out of principle. And the reason is this problem is starting to become endemic of a greater issue, and the source of it stems from the application in question on one hand, and on the other is the net slowly getting polluted with AI-generated SEO garbage designed to get clicks instead of doing something functional, while putting all legitimate sources of information further and further down the search results. Your favorite forums now have AI chatbots talking to each other and exchanging nonsense that may very well trick you into thinking that there's people who know what they're on about for a given subject. This isn't helping things, and I'm not going to get into that side of it. As time goes on, more and more information is getting locked behind Discord, and there's zero transparency from the outside looking in. It's the equivalent of every forum you've ever visited now requiring you to sign up for the website to even view anything. Except now it's made easy and done in one place instead of requiring you to fill out text fields for what username you're going to forget about in a week. This wasn't cool then. Websites don't do this typically, and if they do, it's to block links or files uploaded and keep guest users from seeing them. And even then, no one liked it when a website did that. This isn't just a thing for video games either, mind you. Hardware repair, car parts, your girlfriend's dog's dad's homework, damn near everything is getting posted in a Discord server these days, and you must be a man on the inside to even see it. The tutorial man from the beginning of the game is a mole for the enemy team, by the way. For attack research team, the level name is a lie. This is a damn ambush, and there's a sandstorm with a terrible effect on it, so it probably looks like shit on YouTube. Sorry about that. Still is better than the one on Sandstorm and Polygon, though. You get an AC to fight alongside a bunch of MTs. Kind of a boring mission. I would tell you what the AC is armed with, but I can't see the bloody thing, and I don't think it really matters. But by and large, just chill out in the back and don't get too close to any of the enemies. The MTs are a touch dangerous with the shotguns that they have, but again, the map is so huge you have no reason to even get close to them. You get to fight Strong at the end of the level, he's worthless. Archiving information in Discord is not ideal, even with the inclusion of threads for official servers. In fact, it's straight up terrible. It was never supposed to be anything more than an IRC app, and it shows through and through. Like, for God's sakes, the app is turning 10 in a few days and you still cannot search by tags, only by username and the exact title or phrase. It was archaic 25 years ago, and now people don't even care. It drives me nuts, this. On top of all that, any server you happen to be in can disappear with a click of a button. And again, since it's invisible from the outside, none of that information can easily be backed up. I'm not being paranoid about this either. 3 years ago, Ready or Not's modding server, and it had something to the tune of like 30,000 or 60,000 people in it, got nuked. Just yeeted into the void. All because the owner pulled a Gutex from playing too much Street Fighter V and just went insane. Think of the years of information and files that were just lost. Mind you, I'm not part of that community, and I have no interest in that game, but I'm willing to go out on a limb and say that there's still mods out there that, to this day, are just gone. Since people are generally lazy and Discord lets you upload files directly to it, you'd think backups would be made on Nexus and the like, but it's just not happening. Even if there is, users have to do so one file at a time with no access to automation. You can bet money that alone cuts down on the amount of folks willing to put up with that for the sake of preservation. And I don't believe in gatekeeping information from people and locking it behind some little boys club, regardless of how easy it is to make an account and join the server. What if I don't have a Discord? What if the admins just keep deleting old posts for one reason or another? My state's FGC Discord did that, to make it quote-unquote look cleaner. I'm not making that up either, and it legitimately makes me angry that. Years of Tekken info gone, all because we didn't post in the channel for 2 months. How about 10 or 20 years from now, when all the venture capitalists pull out and Discord's funding dries up and they go tits up? What then? There's going to be this colossal gap in human knowledge, and it's just going to float away into the abyss. Information really should be readily accessible and be able to be archived in bulk and stored by several different people. And yeah, sure, there are tools and bots out there that let you scrape all the servers you're in, but your account can get banned for doing that. And don't give me this bullshit line about privacy either. Your messages in Discord are not private. All that shit is stored on their end, and they can do whatever the fuck they want with it. And I'm not going to knock the app for its use in chat. That is perfectly fine, great even. It's when people use it as a knowledge base that I take issue with it, and so many users are doing it. Right now, we effectively have tyrant lords hoarding stockpiles of info, and the only thing we can really do about it is just trust them. to do the right thing and not delete it all on a whim. Or God forbid the server itself gets banned by Discord because of the nefarious actions of one malicious user. And even if you join the servers to ask your question, you get people angry at you for asking the same question as everyone else, while they fail to see why it's happening in the first place. Or better yet, your question gets buried by overlapping conversations about the weather or whatever inane bullshit people happen to be talking about at that moment. But this is the reason why I don't participate in this rhetoric, and I really dislike the idea of having to join someone's Discord just to learn something. It's the principle of the matter. And it really disgusts me that they got away with this just by making it easy to join. It's like reducing humanity's library of books down to single copies of every title and just putting it all in one building. I try to be transparent with all my findings and try to post it as many places as possible. But even I'm guilty of doing this, and again, it's because it's so easy to do. It's not even hard to address either. But you know Discord is too busy trying to find new customization options to fleece children with and ways to make the UI look worse than it was. YouTube as well is becoming another sinkhole for information. Whatever tidbit you're searching for is somewhere inside a whatever length video that's filled to the gills with padding as it tries to hit ad revenue. And if it's eclectic enough and really obscure, the video is going to have no views on it, and when you try to view it, YouTube will just refuse and endlessly buffer on you. Never mind the fact that channels also disappear all the time due to copyright strikes or death or what have you. We used to be able to find answers to eclectic topics so easily, but now everything's turned into a walled garden. I fear for our future. It baffles me that chat applications have somehow regressed from 20 years ago. How sharing knowledge is rapidly returning to pre-computer levels. But what do you guys think? Am I insane for worrying about bullshit like this? Is this just a case of old man yelling at clouds? God, I hope it is. That wasn't an edit, by the way. I just went underneath this man while trying to blade him, and I can't explain why that happened. I might not like the effect on this level, but we don't get enough maps with inclement weather to contend with. I would even be cool with fighting a sandstorm that screws with your optics if it looked nicer, or a thunderstorm that has you dodge lightning blasts as you engage the enemy. AC6 doesn't even dabble in it. The tech is there from. Let me duel some ACs in the middle of a hurricane or a tornado or something. You could even get really dynamic with the geometry shifting around you as you blow shit up. It would be the sickest game ever. Man, this franchise is mismanaged. Right, stop surface weapon. Very ugly level. And it's the first major difficulty spike for starter AC. You get 2 allied MTs that are going to be doing the majority of the legwork, and you got to destroy these 2 transports before they leave the mission area. And a lot of it is finding angles to use your blade. Start by destroying the middle axle turret. It's the largest threat to you and your allies. You're going to get the immense pleasure of dealing with targeting both sides of the transport at the same time. On average, it takes about 2 missiles and a small handful of rifle shots to blow up. However, the hitbox on the model is particularly bad, so you will frequently get no reg. If you wish to stay in the pocket and be effective, you get no real way of dealing with it, so have fun. Once that's done, get to the rear and try to blade the missile pods by being down and to the left or right as you come in for the swing. It's hard to explain and easier to show. And it's not consistent either, it's very finicky. And you get to be annoyed doing this no less than 4 times in total, 1 on each side of the pair of transports. To top it all off, you're timed to this level and it can be fairly strict with these restrictions. If your allies go down, you might as well restart. Things just snowball out of control when you have nothing to share aggro with. This shit took me 45 minutes to get. So much of it is just you being chain staggered by the ships and getting screwed by bad hitboxes as time ticks down against you. It's profoundly frustrating to deal with, since every step of the clear is just jank as fuck. From the lock-on to blading the pods. I imagine you come in here with a sawa or whatever and you can just crush it, easy life. But when your damage is as poor as this, it can be disheartening to deal with. Thankfully, this spike in difficulty is only the second worst. The rest, with one exception, are not nearly as bad, so it's fairly smooth sailing from this point. In terms of pacing, even considering that the game is very clearly not designed around doing this type of run, it's been solid in terms of escalation, if you ignore all the jet levels anyways. I wouldn't say it was elegant or anything of the sort, but it was acceptable. The other pain points coming up are less intense but equally annoying, with the exception of the final boss. That thing is, well, I'll speak on it more when we get there. So the Dark Ages is coming out next week, and I want to throw this question out there. Is anyone cool with forced ray tracing? I always figured people would be more performance-focused first, and anytime I've messed with ray tracing, it cuts my frame rate in half, and I don't really even notice the lighting changes when moving around and playing the game. If anyone happens to be super into the technology and watching this video, what do you look for in a game? How do you play? Are you a pad warrior that does a lot of slow pans like it's an E3 trailer? What's your credit score look like? I have so many questions. Apparently when I look around about it, everyone's telling me that the tech has been around long enough and it's time to upgrade. The future is now, old man. I'm over here wondering if they know it's been around since the 90s and that my GPU is more than capable of running it, and I just instead prioritize game feel over visual fidelity. I do think the tech is really neat when it comes to like rendering mirrors, but that's as far as I have an interest in it. And even then, I'm not looking at the mirror when I'm playing the game. I'm playing the game, I'm shooting the man, you know? Anyways, this is Escort Submarine. Take a wild guess what we're doing here. You get to sit on top of this sub and deal with even more fucking air units. Alright, good news, they're not jets, they're just Amazon delivery drones. Bad news, it's still boring as shit! Slightly better news is that you don't have to spend the entire mission standing on top of this tiny sub. You get 2 enemy vessels to board, one can be blown up, so that's kinda cool. And if I sound irate, it's because I have to pad my script out even further now, and this is gonna take another like 2 or 3 pages to even cover this mission. At least when I'm on the sticks, it's just slightly dull. But now doing voiceover, I get a newfound loathing for these kinds of levels. I can't stall by talking about game mechanics and strategies if nothing's going on. On that note, this level might be time-based. The drones aren't really threatening, and the battleship that's coming in is easily dealt with. The aircraft carrier that shows up I know you can ignore outright from my own tests. But in the footage I go over there and get my ass beat for no good reason. When you're on the battleship, just blade the turrets. Save a little bit of energy for the last one so you can fly back before it sinks on you. And other Polygon news, I've been trying to get into the competitive scene for that game. Shooting up pubs is starting to get kinda dull, and I'm not really learning much anymore. So I figured, hey, it might be a way to extend the game's lifespan for me. I'm trying to join Prism. I believe they're the second oldest team for the game. They get paid, more than what I was getting back when I competed in Tekken, and that game has less than 200 concurrent players. Kinda crazy to think about. What's even crazier is that the game has this entire community-sourced MMR system on the back end through Discord, and in-game support for unlocking paid currency for competing alongside unique weapon skins that don't even show up on the list unless you're part of the league. That blows my mind. It seems like one of the hazing tasks to get on a team is to do 3 100-man kill games on different maps. One of them has a max player count of 10, the other is the worst map I've ever played on, and the last one is Metro. Easier said than done on a dead game, but we'll see what happens. I got like a week to do it. Plus, when they're doing scrims, they play totally differently. They have routes and angles to hold, assuming everyone can aim, while the way I played was to just float about and out-aim everyone in front of me. That doesn't work against these guys. So normally in pub games, Polygon is like this jank Battlefield clone without the vehicles or the classes. Yeah, it sounds nothing like Battlefield, right? Instead, it's more of the movement and being able to spawn on squad baits that makes me say that. Gunplay is sorta like COD, but with projectiles and no spread and damage fall off, so it's quite pure in its shooting experience. No abilities, no spotting mechanics, hell, the minimap doesn't even show your position when you're firing. The standard game mode is a bit like Conquest. You hold 3 points on the map and being able to spawn at any of the owned points. But the maps are pretty small. Think of close quarters maps from the BF3 expansion in size. Comp play, on the other hand, is king of the hill on very small maps with at most 5v5 teams. I almost want to say it invokes this feeling of playing Counter-Strike. Being able to hold angles and trying to attack and defend a site, except without the bomb and with respawns. Since the maps are so small and time to kill is so short, team wipes are quite common, so you get these instances of your entire team approaching this fortified position and you try to overtake it. It's nothing like CS, yet I'm seeing parts of it present, while getting rid of the things that I never really liked about that series, being the no respawns or the shop. I'm just not patient enough for that style of game, but I do respect the hell out of it. I need to reiterate, you do not need to go on this ship. There is nothing worthwhile here. Suffering and pain are all that await you here. But getting used to this new playstyle has been quite rough on me. But it's like anything else. I'm sure, given enough time, I can fit in. I just haven't competed in shooters since Fear 2 came out, and that was a very long time ago now. We did do an internal game a day or so back, and I seemed to do fine against the team, but again, I need more experience. And it didn't help that in the 3v3, one of them was muted and deafened because he was still at work. So because of that, 1/3 of the team couldn't do callouts, and I could get away with murder because of it. Feels bad, man. I've also fallen into this other hole with chat music videos. It's using this AI song prompt to turn comments that are roasting in nature into some of the funniest shit I've seen this year. Some of them are just brutal, but oh my god, are they utterly hysterical. Finally close to the end of this level. Looking at my AP, you could be fooled into thinking that this was a close run, but again, as long as you don't go near that aircraft carrier, the mission might as well play itself. Neat concept, but it needed more going for it to pull it off. I don't know if they ever revisited the idea either off the top of my head. There's legitimate merit here, but it's just in the wrong game with too many air units. And I'm not gonna lie, it took me over a week to come up with filler for that level. Brutal. Right. Bullshit level. Name is a callback to AC1. Cool. I'm gonna skip the lead up to the ambush. This is a horror movie level with how the game is going to treat you. You only have to deal with a double AC fight, and they always spawn behind you. There's a shotgunner who wants to live in your ass off to your left, and a laser rifle and missile abuser to the right. He likes to hang back and just spam shit at you with infinite ammo, and makes no attempt to mask that. It's an incredibly nasty combo. Your overall experience is going to be getting chain staggered and flung about like a ragdoll endlessly while getting double teamed. You can go off to the northwest part of the dome like I do here to get the pair to spawn in the field behind you, but once there, it's just a party and you have zero control over it. The footage is a somewhat quick kill, but there's no replicating this with anything resembling consistency. And it's a standing testament as to why laser rifles shouldn't have an aftershock attack that staggers you just as much as the initial hits. It's just fucking stupid. I never found a way to make this map consistent. This is even after coming back post beating the challenge run and trying to get an attempt that resembles being clean. It just feels like when it comes down to it, you're relying on blind luck to win the day. At least with starter AC. It sucks, since I think anyone can roll dice, so there's not much in terms of player expression to work with on this one. I imagine if you have even the slightest bit of stagger resistance, you can mop the floor with these guys and eat them for breakfast, but since a stiff wind will lock up the mech, I guess nothing really cool can happen here. When you get to this point, just missile the final man. It's not worth trying to go in and blade the bastard when they have infinite energy. Just remember, it's not cheating, it's just Human Plus doing all that. Totally not poor programming at all. Hell, even when they do cheat, they're still kinda useless. You have to have such insane restrictions going on in your game to even notice the fact that they're cheating. This goes to show. Once both men go down, boost to the door you came in from, and that's GG's. Easy life, even though it's not easy at all. Moving on to Underground Railway. It's a fun level, with an asterisk. It starts off in the same tunnel that introduces you to the disorder units. You might as well just boost to the end instead of destroying anything. If you do, save your missiles for the end unit. The less damage you take, the better. This is one of those cases where there's some very blatant asset reuse going on, but I don't mind it here since it leads to a part of the map that was previously inaccessible. Wish more games did that in this style. So I finally got around to checking out the show for beginning after the end. My god, is it heartbreaking. The adaptation is horrible on top of a bad opening inspired by its beers. The slide without the show is one of the jokes I've seen floating about. The animation's just legit bad. I have no idea what happened. It wasn't the greatest thing in the world in the first place, and when you take away its visuals, it's a lot like solo leveling, and it just falls apart at the seams. You know it's really bad when it's super popular, yet Crunchyroll is mum in regards to advertising it. Even so, I think the manhwa is now trapped in the infinite training arc in the middle of the school bit. Of all the things to skip in it, that always was the low point and they kept it in. The art's getting worse too as time goes on. That new studio is not it. Anyways, ahead is the fun bit. Fun in that there is no fun, just suffering to contend with. It's just a giant MT in a tunnel. It shoots lasers at you that you need to dodge left and right. Is there any subtle movement patterns you need to do to dodge all the attacks? No, just mindlessly strafe over and over until it goes down. Fun fact though, if you run your emulator's EE cycle rate above default, this unit attacks faster and is much harder to avoid taking damage from. And it took me about an hour and a half to figure that out. Let me tell you, I was not a happy puppy then, but it's in the past now. What can you do, yeah? I ended up clicking off that show after episode 2. I just could not take it. Went to the homepage, looked at what's popular. Since it's been a minute, One Piece is still number 1, Windbreaker 2. To Be a Hero X looks interesting. I'm gonna wait for that to finish before diving in fully. It seems to be a love letter to animation with multiple studios working on it, and it shifts between visual styles, while cycling between protagonists every few episodes. Cool ass show, but nothing was really catching my eye. Well, except for one thing. And that is called Sword of the Demon Hunter. The summary says it's about a man who encounters a demon that can see the future before setting out to defeat it, turns into a demon himself, and travels through time while questioning the meaning of wielding the sword. Thought, hell yeah, that could be something. Neo 2 as an anime, I can live with that. That's always been a vague idea I've had while playing that game anyways, being what would your dude be doing during those times of peace? He is immortal after all, right? Also wonder where all those dudes that backdash came from. Just a bunch of Tekken players masquerading as yokai. Abort missile launch. Yet another case of just needing to get to the end. You get 2 choices of paths, and that's really cool for this time period. I don't even think any other mission in the franchise gives you branching paths like this. It's a right shame, too. What a cool concept, just not revisited. The footage is going to be going through the vents. The other path is much more combat-oriented, while the vents just shuttle you from one AC fight that's easy to bypass straight to the final room with another AC waiting for you. You don't need to defeat either of them, but I blow up one just because. The bombs and the ducks have a bit of a shitbox attached to them. Sometimes you can pass by them harmlessly, more often than not you'll get clipped by it. I wonder what From was thinking putting Infinity in this room and giving him no way to follow you. Wouldn't it make more sense to have the vent on the same floor as him, instead of up in the rafters? I'm not quite sure what the purpose of him is. The enemy at the end has a flamethrower. You can see how later on From buffs the weapon to be more effective. Now, it's no silent line flamethrower, that's for sure. As for the AI, there's some complex programming going on here. The unit can now walk towards you and away from you instead of just bee-hopping uselessly. They grow up so fast. It doesn't have a lot of health to speak of. You could just chain blade it and burst it down that way, or stick back and missile it out of commission. Up to you, really. It's not exactly a threat. Once this bloke blows up, you just need to destroy the 6 computers in this room with literally 0 resistance. So I'll just slash the first one and you guys will see a mission clear. I'm all about showing my work, as I've said before, but there's nothing to show there. It's just 6 rooms that are doing the exact same thing. And it's like a minute and a half I can cut out from the video, so might as well. In regards to VIP Escort, ain't no damn VIP on this level, and you don't get to escort anything. This is another ambush. Regardless of what you do, it's technically a mission fail as the target you are defending blows up after a set amount of time. Intro cutscene's pretty cool at least. A lot of dynamic angles to work with. But you can't even scam this mission and blow up the target early. It's really lame. The mission opens up with a double AC fight, both units armed with MGs and blades. They're the least threatening out of the lot of them. For support, groups of 3 MTs spawn in and walk in from the corners of the map, and do so infinitely whenever their active number depletes. Effectively, once you deal with the 2 ACs, the mission may as well be over. The only thing you really need to be mindful of here is the position of the MTs as you fight the AC duo, since their damage output is unironically higher. To do that, you just use the center building to break line of sight with the adds as you deal with the pair. Ideally, all the MTs would just get stuck on the building and leave you alone as you do your duels. Your missiles will do work here. If need be, there is additionally a resupply truck you can hit. It won't heal you, but you'll get your ammo back. Overall, it's a very strange level. I'm not sure if destroying enemies even increases your payout or not. There might be a method to just stall for time by sitting somewhere the AI can't get at and just waiting for the invisible clock to run its course. I guess playtesters didn't enjoy having to defend a legitimate target all that much, so retail ended up axing the mechanic? Maybe it's a mistranslation, since the briefing frames the level as a guard job that goes wrong once in-game. It's another cool premise that's not really revisited ever again. I know one of the MechWarrior games has a mission like this, but I forget what game it was offhand. At this point, it's just 2 minutes of me blowing up MTs mindlessly. They go down in 2 rifle shots and a blade swing. I'll just speed it up as I'm behind enough as it is on this project. It's a fairly boring bit that you don't have to engage with, so I feel somewhat justified, but at the end of the day, this is just laziness. So regarding Zio City Suppression, I present to you Schrodinger's ACs. The Bonnie and Clyde. The dynamic duo. The cock and the balls. On a phenomenally annoying level if you don't know how they function. You need to defeat a pair of hover-leg ACs, both of them armed with laser cannons, and the gimmick is the longer you look at them, the higher they ascend, only returning to the ground when you place them off-camera. You may as well engage them in the field you start in. Trying to take them into the city becomes a tiresome affair since they can move faster than you can turn. Do not get stuck in the embankment. You will die there if you do from the chain staggers. There is a hidden part in one of the sections of the city if you feel the urge to grab it, just don't go for it this run. And said part may or may not be the size of a small house. The scaling on it is quite funny. This level fucking sucks. The ads for the main pair are there just to piss you off. And the bizarre programming to just go up when you lock onto them leaves one baffled more than anything else. It's a perfect showcase for infinite energy if you ever doubted the engine just cheats in your face. Going from one double AC fight to another back to back exasperates the tedium present here. The way you dispatch these two happens to be the same as well. You just missile them over and over. Good luck blading either of them, but this is the last time you have to fight a pair, and it marks the start of the final 6 levels of the game. It just sucks that your introduction to the end happens to be this garbage. I can't even imagine a world where casually this could be considered fun. Just flying higher and higher endlessly. I know I was frustrated in my first playthrough because the last guy just never wanted to land and ended up wasting a ton of my time. Back then, I didn't know about off-screening enemies. Hell, I didn't even know algebra by that point in my life. You can see here in the footage just how high up these units can go, too. It's just ridiculous. Absolutely asinine. Your window of opportunity to deal damage is abysmal as well. Just looking at this happening when I'm over a month removed from this run is starting to annoy me. I thought I would have cooled off a bit by now, but I guess not. So yeah, I was checking out Sword of the Demon Hunter, went to watch the first episode, and it's an hour long. I couldn't even tell you what the hell I was thinking in my head at the time, but I said fuck it and I just decided to click randomly in the player. Ended up liking it quite a bit. The general plot to set up the main conflict comes off as a bit stilted in places, and the friction between the protagonist and antagonist could have been handled just a bit better, but afterwards the writing was surprisingly well done. I legit went in thinking it was going to be a lot like Kenshin. Same time period, lot of action, you know, typical shonen schlock. Color me surprised, it was not even close to that. Mind you, it's incredibly Japanese, to the point where it hurts. But instead, it's more about the human condition, where the action is almost rare. Hell, the demon portion of the plot is pretty much secondary. It's more of a peek into Japan during the 1800s and just so happens to have demons that are formed based on negative emotions on the side. There's whole episodes where not a drop of blood is spilt. And for a show that doesn't focus on action as much as that one is going to, the little peaks that they do show are quite well done. I've seen a lot worse, all considered. There's a slight problem with it. There's only 6 episodes out right now, and I'm the kind of guy who likes to dive in fully into a medium when I get into it. So this just won't do. I'm not waiting months for it to finish. I'm an impatient bastard, no thank you. This level ends when you destroy the 2 ACs, by the way. Moving on to Underground Lab. This might be the last fun level in the game. You could easily just bypass everything and make your way to the final room, but I stop here and there to blow up some disorder units for the fun of it. What a shame this game doesn't have ranks. They slot in so naturally into the main gameplay loop that when absent it feels like an important piece is missing from the puzzle. And you would assume that these red lights would indicate you can't pass through the doors, but no. All it is just textures on the wall. They don't mean anything at all. Literally nothing is stopping you from just making your way straight to the end. So regarding the... Oh, damn, that's a nice overboost on my part. Shit looks so clean, ugh. When players move around well like that, it always gets my dick hard. But I was gonna say that there's nothing that stands out all that much about this level. It's just some hallways you need to blitz through and one mandatory unit at the end to contend with. And it may be tied with Last Raven for most lifts in a single level. Anyways, I'm an impatient bastard, so I went straight to the source. And it just so happens to be based on a bunch of light novels. There's a manga too, but I don't like the art in it. Now me and that medium, we get along just swell. Usually, they're quite light on the page count, so they fly by fast. And the translation jobs are typically good enough that you forget it's not even in your native tongue. Just don't try fan or machine translations. Those can render the text basically unreadable. As for acquiring them, I got a place that I go to for getting copies for cheap. Pretty large database to boot. It lets me amass a large collection if I wanted to for basically nothing, and ebooks size-wise are practically non-existent in their footprint. If you look around for it, you can most likely find it yourself as well. But as it turns out, 9 of the 14 books are translated so far, and I do enjoy reading, so once again, hey, might as well. The show ends after book 2, so I started with 3. After digging in a little bit, I understood why I got an adaptation. It also showed that, all considered, the anime has been quite faithful to the source. And it shocked me again that the few combat sections that there are very detailed. A lot of emphasis on blade position and footwork and breaking one's posture when it comes to fighting sword duels. There's no special moves, no secret hidden technique, rush punch to the leg. Early on, anyways. Oh hey, look what the cat dragged in. The bipedal disorder unit. The unit here is pretty much identical to the one you fought in the reactor room, except the room is a bit more shit. The design works both ways, however. It's really easy to get this guy stuck up against a wall and let you chain blade it over and over again for a very rapid kill. And I will showcase that right here. Absolutely beautiful stuff. This makes him look like an utter chump. Whenever the game lets you animation cancel your blade, your DPS just shoots through the roof, and it is the sexiest thing on planet Earth. Or Mars, in this game's case. Regardless, I hope you like the tile set of the space station because you get to go here twice, back to back. A very strange decision, pacing-wise. This level additionally marks one of the few times the game puts a roadblock in place to stop you from bum rushing straight to the end. And it does so by locking a door behind the destruction of another Frightener AC. I don't understand why From did this so late into the game, but they failed to include any assets to indicate that this is happening or that the door opens after you destroy the unit. They also have voice lines stating to follow the signs in the level, but there are none to be found here, so I wonder why this map is as sloppy as it is. Maybe it indicates troubled development once again. Anyways, destroy the turrets in the room with the AC, and then proceed to bequeath it around 10 or so missiles. Then just lay into it with your blade. Save a few for the following room. There is a unit in there that is an absolute pain in the ass, and the more missiles you have, the better, but you will run out regardless. This is another instance where the AI just gets stuck against the wall. I don't think they should be putting units into these kinds of rooms when they just have a proclivity to get stuck as often as they do. It doesn't make much sense to me, and it just highlights the shortcomings of the game instead of where it's strong. And there's nothing wrong with having a really simplistic AI, but you don't need to showcase it as often as they do in this game. You can take steps to mask it, and no one would be the wiser. Zone of the Enders 2 is an excellent example of that, but it's only From's 4th game in the series by this point. I'll let him off, I guess. Isn't it crazy to think that this amateur-style work ends up turning into Souls and becomes this huge monolith in the industry? Oh, by the way, I was gonna let them off, and then they introduced this unit, and I got pissed off at them again. This ugly-ass, flying-cross, Boba Fett-looking-ass motherfucker isn't blight upon society. This flying T-Mobile has 3 attacks, and they all suck ass. There's a Gatling gun that chain staggers you in place, micro-missiles that do a grip and a half and be quite the nuisance to dodge, and dual cannons that stagger you even harder so you can get chain staggered some more by the Gatlings. The long and short of it is that one dickhead that did that level in Silent Line, he most assuredly made this unit as well, and I hate his guts for it. The icing on the cake is that this thing has a ton of health as well. You will always run out of missiles regardless of how many you bring into here. It's a slow, tedious affair of just missiling it and shooting it with your rifle over and over for a very long period of time by this game's standards. It doesn't even have the common courtesy to stay on its side of the room. It will always fly towards you, and when it gets too close, it becomes incredibly difficult to dodge the Gatlings. And because of all that, you can't even blade it, so you feel the clock tick when you're in this room. At least, on starter AC anyways. Casually, I imagine you bring in a Sawa and one of the better missile launchers, and you could just melt this bad boy in seconds and don't think anything of it. From probably ended up making this as simple as it is because of the power of those parts. Sure, it makes sense from a business perspective to not spend valuable dev time on an enemy type that the player just ends up flattening, but artistically, this still pisses me off. If you're gonna half-ass it this badly, why not cut the following mission and put its boss here instead of this thing? I don't even think the design of the flying T-pose is particularly strong either, so why bother with it at all? Surely they had to have more plan for this bugger than this. And the existence of the following mission really does make me question what is the point of this level in its entirety. Once it goes down, all you need to do is run straight to the finish line. The game won't tell you this, but you need to take a right in the room ahead instead of going left to back to where you came. The game is usually really good at communicating where you need to be, and to fail this spectacularly here leaves me scratching my head in thought about it. But before all that, you need to watch this cutscene of this AC coming in. It's very charming. Your lady is going to say that multiple ACs are detected, but there's only the one. It's just lies. Again, it makes me wonder, like, the dialogue does not match up with anything in the level. It almost makes me wonder if it was for a different level and they just ended up scrapping that and porting the dialogue over to here. And then you get hit by this lovely cutscene. Get a load of this. It's the slowest shot of a ship coming into a hangar you can possibly see. I had to speed it up by 150%. Gotta say, it's not often that game leaves me wondering what the hell happened in development as hard as that level does. Eliminate Leos Klein. The entirety of this level is what makes me question the previous one as harshly as I do. Overall, it's less complex. You just need to make your way to the end and have a duel with the antagonist. Thing is, it's the exact same map and layout as the previous mission, and it does a piss-poor job of masking it. You could have made this work if it was at the start and end of the game, like the subway area, but within minutes of each other, there's no way you can pull it off and not expect players to notice it. The only obstacles you need to deal with on your journey to the final room is these mines in the reused areas. The game even lies to you and tries to hype them up. Difficult to detect, my ass. I'm literally on the worst parts in the game and they show up clear as day. Come on now. There's a mine right behind this door that was placed by a cunt. I just eat it. So when you open it, just back off a little bit and you should be able to dispatch it easily. I almost think From has a case of not being able to close out their games in a strong way, going off the majority of their PS2 titles. Although I suppose I'm not one to talk. I'm doing it right now. Half-assing it, that is, right at the finish line. By the way, just shoot the mines in this corridor, don't pull a me, and just eat the entirety of them. It's completely unnecessary. Anyways, boss of the level, shades of Nineball with this one. Nineball being the main central antagonist of the first game, and the jackass in front of you is your player character from said game, so it makes sense. I'll let them off on this one. Now, tell you what, there's something I won't let them off for. Can you guess what it is? You just saw it right there. That attempted cheap shot right at the end of the cutscene. That shit's still bullshit, but thankfully, this time around, he's so far away he couldn't do it. I have a couple recordings of this fight, and the first one ended up being the most interesting to watch. The general idea is that you want to get him into one of the mechanical pits off to the side, and then blade the daylights out of him. This attempt is not particularly clean, but it showcases an infinite Klein can do to you if he feels like it. And that is right here. Look at this fucking shit. You are just stuck in a stagger animation the entire time. I was wiggling the sticks, doing everything I could to move, it just would not let me. It is nasty. And he can just decide to do that. Thankfully, he seems to prioritize movement above anything else, so it wasn't as bad as it could have been. Had the designers been a touch more malicious, that could have been an easy game over right then and there. Thankfully, they were very kind at the time, and we get this cutscene where we discover that this is not Klein at all, but a robot. It was all a sham.
It's unmanned.
Oh no, it's unmanned.
Klein isn't here.
We gotta extend the game time somehow. You really could have just cut that mission entirely and no one would have noticed, or put that 9-ball unit in the level before that and it would have been fine. I guess investors needed them to hit the 32 mark or something? Or is it 30 in this game? I don't remember. But this is the penultimate level. You get this really interesting cutscene of a bunch of airships coming in and getting shot down, all of them carrying ACs, so I'm assuming the majority of the arena participants are just dead now. And they don't even make all that much mention of it either. You'd think it would be more significant. So I wish I was kidding. You get to fight the final set of air units in the game here. Obsessed right to the very end. Bloody hell. There's additionally these turrets strewed about the edges of the ring, but they are so far away they become non-issues and cannot engage with you. I like to turn around and camp at the south side of the ring. I thought the entrance shows up on that side, but I guess no matter what, when the time comes, it's a pain in the ass to get to it smoothly. Or I just don't know where it is, that's more likely. I don't know why they call this a battleship. It looks more like a space station from Freelancer to me. And to think it's been 13 years and Star Citizen still isn't out. Did you know I put all my chips on Elite Dangerous being the big game of those two? I even bought the Lifetime DLC edition that was over 100 something bucks to get access to the closed beta early. God, I regret that. That game never turned into what it should have been. Hurts my soul. Anyways, just chill out for a bit until the door opens. I believe it's time-based and you get a full resupply and heal for the second part of the level, so this bit is basically meaningless. You guys are smart, and if you're watching up to here, you're probably really passionate for Armored Core. Do you know why there's so many fucking jets in this game? I'm losing my mind pondering why they're as prevalent as they are in this campaign. It's not even like they're fun to shoot or even threatening, you just wait until they do a pass and then blow them the fuck up. It's doing my rag in, man. I need to find some answers for it. Let me return to my books though. Early on there's no secret hidden techniques, no yoga float, but the guy gets some stuff that ends up turning fights into that since he can steal abilities from others like it's a video game. It's one way to handle escalations, but it's a bit disappointing all the same. It's written quite well. Whoever did the translation work did a banging job of it. Good stuff. The book started off quite strong, as did the premise. Dealing with reconnecting with estranged family members and learning to not be consumed by hatred for another. I left this guy in, by the way, because he's my spirit animal, man. This guy's lines, man, oh. I'm in love with this man. The whole outlook of, oh, our teammates are dead. Fuck it, let's do this. Oh, man. As for the second half of this level, just make your way straight to the end, take the right-hand side corridor, and make your way over to the 2 mandatory AC fights that await you. But the books also go in and touch on the loss you would experience as you outlive those you care about. Although, speak of the devil, and he shall answer. No! Let's rock, man! He was my brother! I knew him for 5 minutes! I wonder what killed him. The sorter units are particularly threatening. But these themes remained consistent up until about Book 9, where the main character ends up being more estranged with the world during the early 1900s. Like, legit, the entire novel spends its time setting up the upcoming conflict and explaining what's going on after this 40-year jump forward, and in the end, nothing ends up happening. And to my understanding, as the series goes on, the writing ends up getting weaker and weaker, so that's quite disappointing. Much like this boss. The whole point of this fucker is to chip you down before you fight the actual boss. Usually this game is generous, yet this time around From just doesn't give a flying fuck about your AP and forces you into multiple fights with no resupply in sight. Thematically appropriate, I guess, but unnecessary and quite mean. Even as early as 2000s you can see the starts of their mean streak forming. But for the low price of free, it was a pretty enjoyable time, those books. Would recommend. Just don't go in expecting it to be like Demon Slayer, where the main character is a saint and a moron. While we are here, I'ma say it. I don't think back-to-back boss fights on one checkpoint is cool. Even in Sekiro, where Genichiro is a fucking joke before Ishin. I don't dig it at all. Also, what the hell was that voice line? That had less emotion than I do when taking a dump. Although I say that the other day, well actually no, I say it the other day, I mean this morning, I was like Dumb and Dumber on the toilet. I had something that just did not agree with me. But if you make the first boss a joke, it's just a waste of time that could have been spent elsewhere in development. Or it's 2 full bosses and it's just a garbage test of endurance. It's not cool. Also, fuck From. Again, hitting me out of the fucking cutscene. Klein's a special snowflake here, so he gets to nail you twice instead of just the one. So you just lose about 1,000 AP just for walking in the room. How great is that? Really pisses me off, that. And I don't mean the hyperbolic anger I frequently demonstrate. I'm talking legit like my blood is boiling. I'm seeing red at this shit. Klein's new unit is the cover AC. The AI is straight trash. It struggles to turn for some reason. Might be because it's overweight. Or just a brick. You can abuse the crap out of this and get to his side and blade chunks out of him. And you probably will have to do this anyways, since your AP is so low coming in and he cheap shots you like a fucking cunt out of the cutscene. Again, I will never not be angry about this. The fact that he has a Sawa just makes things even worse. I don't give a fuck if he's really weak in the AP department, it's just fucking cheap as hell. And it takes a really good game and it sours it for me. Speaking of souring, we are now at the final level. Phobos. Fromsoft needs to have a fatwa on ethical game design. Phobos, the level, is straight up haram. I hope the designer behind the final boss retired like that one programmer who worked on God Hand. Just fucked off and went back to farming. Except I don't trust this twat with food, he'd find a way to fuck it up. There's absolutely nothing redeemable about this level. Not a goddamn thing. From the texture work being ugly as fuck to look at to the enemies placed herein, it's all bad. Takes a solid game with some minor issues up until this point and drops the score in half in my eyes. That's how abhorrent it is. And I'm saying this from the chest a month removed from this garbage. I have every reason not to be angry anymore at this level, yet just looking at it fucked me off all over again. Even destroying the pillars here to get into the space lift, you get several hit scan enemies that lie to your face about their attacks being dodgeable. On the plus side, you can at least see how they iterated on this idea for the final level of Silent Line. One good thing I have to say. The lion's share of my issues with this level stem from the final boss. Oh, and the flying crucifix makes a return. You cannot progress until you kill it. Of all the times From decides to put a roadblock in, and they do so on the final level, fuck off with that. Your development time can be scuffed as hell, but don't try to half-ass things and break the rules of your own game at the 11th hour. But, the final boss. Let me trauma dump on you here, since the boss on its own doesn't last long enough for me to articulate why it's so ass. So the AI is much like the bi-battle disorder unit you fought a few missions back. However, they crank him up to the gills on fentanyl. He gets two phases. The first one is one of the freest phases on Mars. You just jump blade that ass over and over and he goes down. The game then gives you a full heal and a resupply just for the next phase to fladoing you as you come out of the cutscene into a mandatory stagger and a 300 AP deduction. So just retrying the fight is annoying by this alone. Even though on hardware the game has no checkpoints, you die there, you have to restart the entire mission. Now onto its moveset. For the final fight in the game, you get a whopping, get this, 3 attacks to deal with. Where's my fighting cowboy gif? Before that, movement. He walks in diagonals. Cool. As for attacks, he has some eye lasers that he shoots, and he never stops shooting, and it's his primary attack. And I'm not kidding, it just endlessly fires on a timer regardless of what the boss is doing. The beams stagger like right fucking bastards too. Its second attack is a blade swing, and that does a grip, and it also staggers you. Since his eye beams never stop, you can get chain staggered by these two things alone and never get to play the game. His third and final attack is an overboost into a blade swing. Sounds harmless. Shut up, noisy game, I'm talking. It sounds harmless, right? Wrong. This boost is so draconic, if the boss starts this and does a pass at you, and you avoid it somehow, the monster will endlessly fly around in circles, never turning off the boosts until it gets close enough to slash you. And I mean endless. Plus, once it gets down to about half-life, he spawns some drones that appear next to you and chip you down. At least they don't follow you. There's also a hidden enemy, and it's the room itself. Since the boss is a bastard, you probably want to fly up and away from him. Thing is, when you touch the ceiling, the camera spazzes the fuck out and starts doing flips on you, so you can't even track the fucking thing you're trying to avoid. The fact that his overboost never ends until he gets close enough to blade you is just fucking beyond stupid. The amount of attempts ruined because this dickhead just flies off is uncountable. The eye lasers never stopping is even stupider. If you're unlucky, you just eat shit for life because the game decided to start beaming you on the wrong frame and the boss gets to stack attacks on you. The blade swings I'm doing here feel like shit, by the way. You're fighting the game that let you in the air and the staggers are eating your inputs. Since if you slash while on the ground, you lose your input for like 10 seconds due to the beams. You can see why I burn a limit release here. Now, I will say this. Beating this rat without it is entirely possible in Starter AC. I've seen it done. I refuse to do it for 2 reasons. The first is that when I think Starter AC, I think no garage. This is entirely personal, I don't hold anyone else to that standard. I'm pretty sure you need to drop the blade in missiles to make it work, and that leads into my other reason, and it's using only the rifle to slowly chip this cunt down. I don't have the patience for that. I fucking hate this boss, I want nothing to do with it, I don't want to be in the room longer than I have to. I despise this trash so much, I don't even want to see the ending, and I want not a single name to show up in this video from the credits. Legitimately, I think this is the worst boss the studio's ever done, and that's including Ninja Blade. Shut your ass up, get off my screen. That was Starter AC. Overall, I have some thoughts this time around. I'll start with the project side of things. I was focused on 2 things this time, being cadence and prose. I wanted to put a video out where I speak in the speed I normally do, and that blew up in my face here. The majority of the turnaround time can be attributed to that alone. By the hour mark, the script for this video was longer than the entirety of Silent Lines at 39 pages versus 31 over there. Slowing down just a little bit for the final 30 minutes let me take 2 pages and extend them to the end of the game. Prose was the other thing. Something I noticed while working on these AC videos was that whenever I ad-lib a line in, I ended up repeating words at the start and end of sentences. I don't know if it's from me forcing Chris to read Razor Fist or whatever, but it bothered me something fierce and I went out of my way this time to avoid it. As for the game, it's ambitious, and I respect the hell out of it for that. It's just that when you hold it under scrutiny and don't use the busted part selection, the mechanics don't really hold up. And much of the pacing is wasted on these jet levels that just don't need to be here. Limit release is too strong and always available, and the amount of staggers in this game is just cruel and unfun to deal with. The end of the game being as sloppy as it is also puts it down a few points in my eyes. As for what's next, I have an Omega Boost project I've been chipping away at while working on this video. I'll be attacking that in earnest going forward. Once again, thank you so much for giving me some time in your day, and I'll see you Starside.